Aprilia spent nearly a year building its title bid around one man. On Sunday in Hungary, the boss of that project stood in front of a camera, called the wreck his own star caused stupid, and said it was a mistake a world champion should never make. Not a rival, not a backmarker. Massimo Rivola, the CEO who signed Jorge Martin, watched his world champion get out of shape at turn 1, take down Aprilia's own championship leader, then refused him a single inch of cover. Bosses defend their stars in public. Rivola did the opposite. So why would the man who bet everything on Martin trash him on camera the moment it went wrong? And what does Rivola already know that makes one crash worth burning his own rider for? Here is what makes this bigger than a bad afternoon. This is the best chance Aprilia has ever had at a MotoGP title, and the rider leading that charge is not Martin. It is Marco Bezzecchi, Martin's own teammate, the man sitting 20 points ahead of him, the man Martin is supposed to be beating. So while both factory Aprilias were lying in the Balaton Park gravel, Marc Marquez was calmly riding to the 100th win of his career and tearing a huge chunk out of the championship lead. The title that looked like Aprilia's to lose suddenly had Marquez closing fast. Aprilia did not lose those points to a rival on Sunday. Aprilia handed them over. And the man who handed them over was the one they chose to win the whole thing. Start with what actually happened, because the replay is uglier than the headline. Martin lined up 8th on the grid. Into the first corner at Balaton Park, he got out of shape under braking, lost the front, and speared across the track. This was not a quiet fall on his own. When Martin went down, he took the entire front of Aprilia's season with him. Marco Bezzecchi, the championship leader, was collected and thrown to the ground by his own teammate. Raul Fernandez, on the Trackhouse Aprilia, hit the deck in the same instant. 3 Aprilia bikes, gone in a single corner, all of them downed by one of their own. And it did not stop at Aprilia. Fermin Aldeguer's Gresini Ducati was wiped out completely, and Fabio Di Gianantonio was knocked so far back he could only remount and crawl home in 12th. Both Aprilia riders were checked over and walked away with contusions, no fractures. The only good news in the entire story. But the championship leader spent his Sunday afternoon in the medical centre instead of on the podium, and the reason was wearing the same colours he was. That is the scene Rivola walked into. Most team bosses in that exact moment reach for the script. A racing incident, heat of the moment. We move on as one family. Rivola threw the script in the bin. He called it a mistake a world champion shouldn't make. Then he went further than almost any boss dares to, and broke down exactly how his rider got it wrong. Rivola said Martin grabbed too much front brake with the bike still leaned over, in a part of the track with less grip. That is not a boss shielding his rider. That is a boss publicly filing the blame, in technical detail, on the man he pays to win. And then came the line that travelled. Talking about the pileup, Rivola said that when Aprilia crashes and another Aprilia, or even 2, gets caught in the middle of it, it looks stupid. Stupid. About his own marquee signing. On camera, hours after the wreck. The stewards did not see bad luck either. Martin was handed a double-long lap penalty for the next race, with the panel noting that opening lap mistakes get punished harder because of how many riders get dragged in. 1 rider's error, 5 bikes affected. Here is the part most of the coverage quietly skipped past. This was not the first time. Only weeks earlier at Catalunya, Martin was already on the ground after tangling with his own Aprilia stablemate Raul Fernandez on the opening lap. Raul did not soften it afterwards. "We have the data," he said, aiming it straight at Martin. Aprilia was rattled enough by that one to sit its riders down and draw up internal rules of engagement. And Martin himself had to apologise to the team after an angry pit reaction that weekend. And Rivola, back then, spelled it out. Between Aprilias, the team needed to take more care, especially on the first lap. So when Rivola says the word stupid in Hungary, he is not reacting to one corner. He is watching the exact thing he publicly warned about happen all over again, only bigger, with the championship leader as the casualty this time. He even drew the line straight back to Martin's crash at Motegi. the one that earned him this identical penalty once before. A smaller mistake, but the same outcome, Rivola said. For us, even worse. And this is where the story stops being about a crash. Line up the pattern, and the public reaction stops looking like a boss losing his temper. Catalunya, where the stewards took no action but Raul Fernandez still aimed the data at him. Motegi, where he earned this exact penalty. Now Balaton Park, the same rider, the same first lap flashpoints, Aprilia paying every time. A double long lap penalty he had already earned once before for doing the same thing. Rivola is not losing his composure here. He is connecting dots he has been staring at for months. People thought this was Rivola refereeing a racing incident, stepping in to shield Bezzecchi from a clumsy teammate. It was not. This was the man who built Aprilia's entire title push around Jorge Martin admitting out loud that his own bet has turned into his biggest problem. Sit with what that actually means. Martin did not just take down a teammate at Balaton Park. He took down the exact rider he is chasing for the championship, the one man standing between him and the title he came to Aprilia to win. Aprilia is closer to a championship than it has ever been in its history, and the real threat to that championship is not Marc Marquez. Even after a weekend like this, the threat is sitting inside Aprilia's own garage, in the other factory seat, carrying the number of a world champion. Rivola did not sign Martin to take out his own teammates. He signed him to win the title. And right now, the man actually leading Aprilia's title fight is the teammate Martin keeps dragging down with him. So let's be honest about what Rivola's word really was. Stupid was not an insult thrown in a moment of anger. It was the sound of a bet going wrong in public, with the cameras still rolling. Aprilia chose Martin to be the spear, the proven champion who would finally turn a fast bike into a #1 plate. Instead, the spear keeps snapping on its own teammates, and the title hope is now the other man in the box. Rivola is not protecting Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi can look after himself on track. Rivola is protecting the project, the years of work and money and credibility Aprilia poured into finally winning from the one rider that whole project was supposed to stand on. That is why he refused to reach for the script. You defend a rider when you still believe he is the answer. You call it stupid in public when you are starting to fear he has become the question. And Aprilia cannot swap him out, because the man they need to win is the same man putting their season in the gravel. The boss did not really call the crash stupid. He called the bet stupid out loud before he could catch himself. So is Jorge Martin still Aprilia's future, or already its biggest problem? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.